alternate reality game is essentially trying to replicate a story or a mystery in reality, so that they appear no different than a real internet mystery. Ash Vlogs tried to make their ARG appear like a real vlog channel that had something wrong with it. Allo Tutorial tried to make their channel seem like an actual tutorial channel that had something wrong with it. TryGF attempted to make a fake anomaly in the YouTube algorithm. What's interesting here is that this ARG may have been what originally sparked interest in algorithms in the first place. I can't find an earlier example of someone pointing out the strange things that period of YouTube, and I would be surprised if not people's support videos and the other illegal content you can find by searching these terms all stem from this ARG. By the way, if you want to learn more about this ARG, I recommend watching Nightfare's recent video about the topic. I think these anomalies in the YouTube algorithm
appeared totally innocent. In a small room somewhere in the Kohistan region of Pakistan, 4 women sat on the floor, each clapping their hands and singing a traditional Kohistani song. With them were 2 men, one seen dancing beside them, and another seen recording the moment on a grainy video taken on his old cell phone. The footage captured the impromptu after party of a wedding the women and men had set up to disperse, and each person returned to their respective celebration of their their lives continued beyond what happened, at least for a time.
What are you playing right now?
just
buddy a
that.
troll.
And so
He
soon
lives in the box. Cheap as shit. I'll try to use every exploit. He went to the box. He went to the center every time.
Protocol for villages like Coast.
Died and went right back. Died and went right back. Died and went right back.
Open a Chime checking account in 2 minutes and we'll spot you up to $200. Apply now.
According to Absol, once the footage was made public, all 4 of the women shown within the video, along with one other girl who wasn't pictured but had allegedly helped coordinate this gathering, had been rounded up and thrown inside a small room about the size of a closet that served as a makeshift prison. And inside, each day was misery. Every morning, the door would be opened and each woman would be doused with boiling water, causing their skin to bubble. At night, the door would open again, and this time...
Hi guys, how's your day been so far?
Coal from the day's fire.
It's going good.
Oh wow. Yo, Kobe, shut up, bro, before I come over there and peg your ass. I might sneeze like a girl, but I peg like a boy. I am, what the hell? Yo, don't get mad because I'm a femboy and you're not, dude.
Damn, nigga, what?
Yo, hop on COD, bro, hop on COD. Yo, I'll beat your ass. Just fucking ass.
Yo, I'll beat your ass and suck your dick.
Yeah, like what he said he gonna beat your ass and suck your dick.
What they did to these women was not only outrageous,
He said, hell yeah.
but also very illegal.
That's great.
They didn't have the right to sentence someone to death.
Hyper.
Because of this, those watching the press conference were left horrified. Honor killings aren't necessarily a new thing in Pakistan, especially in remote villages. But this level of sadism was unimaginable, and all for a blatantly harmless gathering. And yet, Afzo claimed that not only had no one in Khoistan opposed the Jirga's shocking decision, but even the family members of these women supported it. And they supported it so much so that they were the ones who carried out the torture and eventual killings. Their fathers, uncles, brothers, offered to them with water, burning them with embers, and cutting them with knives, trying to stop it. Except for Afzo. He caught wind of the girls' torture while it was happening, and actively tried to intervene with Pakistani journalists. And this is it. They went through with the execution. He left the region to as he and another So days after it was a swift end to such an alarming story. The stories told about this video to be lies, and I was the liar. The most glaring of which being that one of the investigators said to just given the resources and these were questioned, then were they this where the conspiracy
You did all that to lose. You weak as shit, Honcho.
Huncho your ass using a fucking glitch gun.
You weak as shit. But yeah, you glitching and you still lost. Weak ass boy. Cut the
Oh
game
god,
off.
he's fucking terrible. Fucking terrible.
No way.
How you lose?
He said shh.
You
He said shh.
trash. You trash. It's always
Motherfucker
cheaters.
using a glitch gun just to fucking lose. Not even drop 100 either. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Continue his push for justice. At the start of 2013, he would go to the courtroom in Abbottabad and file a motion to have the Kohistan video case reopened, a decision that had sudden and direct consequences.
People on Depop really want your style. Sell your clothes and make even more money with no selling fees. Download now.
Days after Afzal's court filing, he received a devastating phone call that his brothers had been gunned down and murdered in cold blood, but not the ones you might expect. Afzal was one of 6 siblings, and at this point, 2 of his brothers were still in hiding, living their lives in a secret location. But the other 3, Sherwali, Shah Faisal, and Rafuddin, were living their lives as usual, believing that they were safe as they had no involvement in this fight whatsoever. But they were sadly mistaken. And on January 4th, 2013, while walking to their local mosque in Kohistan, all 3 were ambushed by a group of gunmen and met with a barrage of gunfire. Seconds later, all 3 were dead. The murders were shocking, and made even more so when the culprits were revealed as members of the slain woman's family, as well as the jirga that had called for their execution. And their motive was simple. This was revenge against Afzal for sharing his story, and for filing that application just days prior. And as if the group's message wasn't clear enough, they would then surround Afzal's home and fire over 1,000 bullets into the structure. Luckily, Afzal had already moved to a secret location out of fear of this very moment, but the incident left him forever shaken, forever devastated. As in trying to save 2 of his brothers, his fight had now cost him. It was amazing to conspiracy. But this didn't necessarily mean that they were actually those people. There was still just an air and a fire.
Hey, that guy's a cheater. Everyone reported.
deadliest video I've ever come across. But as suggested earlier, this footage isn't considered responsible for the deaths of 8 people. It's considered responsible for the deaths of 9. The confessions in 2018 didn't lead to any immediate convictions, but it was at least proof in the eyes of the public that these murders took place. And this was followed by Afzal finally being released from prison in early 2019, a full year and a half after he was unjustly arrested. But despite being free, Afzal was hardly out of the woods. The case wasn't officially over yet, and he knew that the family and the members of the Jurgo were still out there. In fact, around the same time, the family members who were initially convicted of killing Afzal's brothers were mysteriously released for reasons that weren't specified, and they were likely now more angry than ever. And so after being released from prison, Afzal went to a local police station to request police protection, something that the court
I got.
But in response, the officers
I think got like 9 force combos in total out of 36.
The officers became so
Yeah, wait, look at that ghost skin though. The obsidian seed pack.
Between Afzal
It's literally just ghost with jeans. I love it.
felt as though the government and the police were now against him, which could be due
It's
to
like
the
it's
fact
just
that Afzal
it
had been
looks
very
the most like
vocal
Ghost.
and
I love it.
and downright abusive the police had been towards him.
This would sell fast. Could use some extra cash. Sellers can list as many items as they.
And with nowhere left to turn, Afzal would post a video to his social media declaring that his life was in danger.
It's the newer one.
As he sat in the back of an unmarked truck waiting to enter, paramedics would open the door minutes later.
Yeah, this guy. If you're on a max. I couldn't get that much. getting hella.
They even discussed how they disposed of the bodies. The murders of
Oh my fucking goodness.
No, that wasn't. Thing from it.
a platform designed to help resolve missing, unidentified, and criminal persons cases nationwide.
That was
It wasn't the first mention of Jesse's case. Several sources have not mentioned his disappearance, which being the official statements of the states. They were almost entirely devoid of context. It was essentially one note to his disappearance, aside from the reaction that was linked to it. Law enforcement assumes he was kidnapped or perhaps even murdered. It's this person's case that leaves us with something else. This is only on the surface. Here's
but I ain't gonna lie though. I don't know.
Bro, these. complete other side of the map with this gun.
These uploads were met with hardly any readership, as Jesse certainly wasn't in his description. Just where Jesse
I normally fall asleep at 12, bro. It's only like
He said
3:30.
eat this damn stars.
That was Star that said that.
Yeah.
Oh shit. That's a nice looking striker though.
What?
I said it's a nice looking striker.
Yeah, and Huncho literally got 99.
Supposed to be that person that bought things because they were cute, no real plans, just vibes, and of course it ends up sitting in the back of my closet.
It's easy to overlook at first, but once you notice it, it changes the entire perspective of this case. As when you look at the date in which these videos were uploaded, every single one of them was posted in 2018, the year after Jesse was last seen. It makes no sense and poses two questions. Are we sure this account actually belongs to Jesse? Well, despite having the same name and appearing like the same person, his videos also shared crudely edited slideshows that displayed pictures while he sang. And in one of these images, we see Jesse, dressed in the same exact outfit in the same exact location as his missing persons photo. This is certainly him, or at least videos of him, prompting the second major question. Could this be someone using older clips of Jesse? It seems possible at first, but these videos were all posted as if they were from Jesse's perspective, who again had no semblance of a career in entertainment. And it's not like they were being shared to help promote search efforts for him, as there's not a single mention of him being missing throughout any of the uploads. And the further we go down this rabbit hole, the more unlikely this whole train of thought becomes, which you'll soon start to realize, leaving us with one bizarre truth, that Jesse was the one posting these videos, and he was doing so while being a missing man, who was presumed to have been kidnapped or killed. In fact, even to this day, his listing remains active, yet here he is dancing and singing like nothing ever happened. It's clear that cracks were beginning to form, and nothing about this case was what it seemed. And this wasn't even the final discovery to come from Jesse's YouTube channel, with the next taking us down a new and far more unsettling path. As mentioned previously, Jesse would often include slideshows edited over his songs, with these photographs sometimes depicting himself, but more often than not, they actually showed other people, and specifically, other young boys. Jesse was online pretending to be John and digging a bit deeper, his strange behavior was left. Jesse was a man with many aliases. Three even included in his missing person. This was one of the guys who was online with several different names. Tony later uncovered was virtually all of them. He included his last name. It turns out this name isn't correct. As one searched online, most of the results were Jesse, John running before his disappearance.
And you guys are fucking dog shit.
Fuck Trump.
Shut up, bitch. You're at the bottom of the leaderboard. And you lost. Noob.
Suck a bag of dicks.
Eat my big fucking throbbing pulsating horse cock.
Fucking inbred foreskin.
I'm gonna show you my inbred foreskin, handsome. I'm gonna tongue kiss you.
A realistic possibility just based on its content. But the scariest part is that this likely wasn't just being done in the online world. Despite his report saying so, Jesse clearly seems to be older than 18. And given that he's gone by so many different fake names in the past, and he has a history of lying about his age and pretending to be younger, it's very likely that Jesse mw3 never even existed, and was instead just a persona created in order for him to pose as a child. And interestingly, if you look under his playlist on the Adexi account, you can find a saved video which features 500 of the most common boy names, which he likely used to help create his aliases. And not only was the name Jesse featured within the video, but it's literally shown on the thumbnail. Jesse mw3 was almost certainly never real. This was all just some sort of manufactured identity, or perhaps one that was even stolen. But it worked so well that somehow the actual government believed it. Which makes me wonder, was Jesse living a full life as a fake child in Denison, Iowa? Was he interacting with other kids, and perhaps even going to school? I mean, he was clearly known in the community well enough to be reported missing. And isn't it quite the coincidence that he just so happened to vanish at the age of 18? Maybe he ran away because under that alias he was no longer a child, and he did so to start a new life elsewhere where he could further pose as a kid, and engage in whatever disturbed behavior he was engaging in, which he clearly did online at least, as just a few months later he was posing as a child on Twitter. Jesse's life in Iowa is one aspect of this mystery that is still unsolved, and the not knowing terrifies me the most. Who knows what he might have been doing there, and who knows just how embedded in that community he actually was. Suspicious doesn't even begin to describe it. But if this isn't Jesse, then who is this man? Well, as it turns out, despite being considered missing by law enforcement, they might have already unknowingly found him. On June 12, 2018, police would enter a home in Round Rock, Texas, where inside they would find and arrest its owner, Pedro mw3, a man who they had caught sharing the CP to Instagram. It was the same unique last name and that same adult face, with Pedro even being part of Jesse's aliases in the past, and all of Jesse's actions just so much. 18-year-old Jesse mw3 was actually Pedro mw3. He was missing and posting these disturbed videos. He was also collecting scenes, and his operation was massive. Police searched devices and 604 images of CP, as well as 37 most of which showed boys between the ages of 6 to 10 the same exact demographic as the children pictured on Jesse's channel. It's an unsettling theory of the purpose of the posting. Perhaps Jesse showing these images in his videos as a way of promoting the CP he collected, to essentially advertise the content he had without raising too much suspicion. Would it be impossible to these pictures in his videos were seen these issues he showed himself in were indicators of what might have been and when someone wanted to obtain transfer them where he would eventually be caught, as he showed his connections with the very same It's also possible that Jesse himself was particularly drugs. As to this day, question, what was Pedro doing in Iowa? How close did he actually get to the children there? But again, it's something that we just don't know. In fact, we haven't even received an official update on Jesse's missing persons case, which is bizarrely still active on NamUs to this day. It was only recently removed from the Iowa State website, as it seems that for years they never put the pieces together that Jesse was actually Pedro. So to this day, the people that Pedro knew in Iowa might still believe that he was Jesse, and might still believe that he's missing. There's so much gray area with this missing persons case, but recently we were given some potential clarification by a fellow YouTuber, The Internet Investigator, who did a fantastic deep dive into this topic. And in her video, she explains that she got into contact with an anonymous source who had spoken with the Denison police about Jesse's case. And it was explained that officers were actually in the midst of investigating Jesse, or Pedro, when he disappeared, as they suspected that he had been collecting CP. And they supposedly went so far as to even interview him, before having to let him walk due to a lack of evidence. To which almost immediately after, he disappeared, leaving behind literally everything he owned. Despite the timeline being suspicious, according to the source, Jesse had left in such an abrupt manner that the police officers genuinely believed that he had been killed. And they never technically never the case. Jesse likely took off for Texas, knowing law enforcement was on his trail, assumed a new identity there, and continued making these unexplained videos and continued trading CP. And while some of this explanation still leaves me with questions, this seems to be the only clarification we're going to get in regards to the missing persons report. But the most important thing was that Jesse was behind bars, with his charges leaving him eligible for up to 10 years in prison, though his official sentencing was never included in any of the articles. With this, it felt as though Pedro's predatory ways were now finally over, at least for the individual. Seemed to be most likely have his connection. But strangely, this isn't where our story ends. The clips began appearing on a YouTube channel called mw3 and showed what was clearly Pedro dancing and singing as if nothing had ever happened. And to make matters worse, videos began appearing in April of 2020, not even 2 full years after his arrest. I couldn't even believe it at first. I assumed that this was just someone posting his own content. But when I dug a bit deeper into the sentencing, the timeline sadly Pedro was only ever convicted of 2 counts of CP possession, thanks to him taking a guilty plea deal, and ultimately he only served 254 days in prison, and was released the following year on February 20th, 2019. Now all of this did carry with it the requirement that he register as a sex offender for life. This only really matters when you're in the United States, and when you look at his captions, he claims to be in Guatemala, which is where it's believed he was from initially, and where he appears to have returned to, likely as a result of being deported. And now that he's there, there's essentially nothing that law enforcement here in the United States can do to keep him in check, which he's taken full advantage of, as in those same captions where he claims to be in Guatemala, he also claims to be a child, and continues to dress like one. On this mw3 channel, he continued to refer to himself as Jesse, and continued to show more revealing images of children, with these ones being even more perverse. And he also continues sharing revealing images of himself, with some outright showing him completely naked and exposed, showing off his uncensored genitals. Whatever system of CP trading or child grooming he was doing on his YouTube channels before, he's clearly still doing it, and he's only gotten more brazen. But as disheartening as this all is, there's something that makes this channel far more disturbing than the others, as throughout his accounts he shared countless images of random young boys. But on this page, it's clear he has a favorite.
Across America, money is being abandoned. By taking a few seconds to check Lyft before your next ride, you can give money a better home inside your wallet. Save the money. Check Lyft.
His name is Abel, and he appears to be a normal child around the age of 8 to 12. And throughout the mw3 channel, Pedro shares his images more so than seemingly anyone else. But if you compare Abel to all of the other kids featured on his channels, Abel is the only one in which Pedro actually clarifies their connection, as according to Pedro. He and Abel are in a relationship. Jesse Namajo and Abel, united forever in a relationship. This sentence is spelled out over and over again in one of Pedro's videos, while in the background, numerous images of the child are shown. Pedro is emotionally put the pieces together, with more hearts and other messages. With one, put them together, shirtless. This, to me, is my worst fears about Pedro's online activity. Grooming is definitely a part of it. In fact, he even shares a screenshot from an Instagram account that he created after his arrest and shows a story of his face along with text saying, "I'm 16 years old." Putting the pieces together, it seems that Jesse used this Instagram account to lie about his age and get into contact with his child, which, according to his own words, the two then had a relationship. It's a horrifying revelation, and I tried to explore further by looking into who this child actually was. Absolutely nothing. The name Abel is almost certainly an alias given to him by Pedro, as I could find no trace of his child perception. As when I searched his name here on YouTube, I made a highly on a channel simply named, there are multiple playlists titled Abel's Birthday, or at least the one that Pedro gave me. There are hundreds of videos of Abel. Almost always show violence and an extremely sexually charged man, with these uploads featuring disturbing titles like, "I like you so much. What would you do if I told you my fantasies about you?" As well as captions like, "Check us out if what you want is attention." And of these videos, the worst examples have been put into their own separate playlist, which is titled "Fans of the Sensual." I can't necessarily prove it, but this is the work of Pedro. This is all of his his blatant obsession with the use of this child's weird aliens. It's very possible that he's used to resolve his grooming, but this could very well be a glimpse into Pedro's the way that the clips are sexual, and the way that the captions are worded, it really sounds like he's promoting this as a feeling about this, and the most frustrating part of it is that following this, was labeled as the justice system let him go with a slap on the wrist, and because of this, he was essentially allowed to immediately go back to what he was doing before. And it's very possible that even to this day, however, it's hard to say for sure, as he posted this video, which he announced he and Abel's relationship. Pedro, once again, disappeared. Since then, there has been essentially no trace of him on the internet, and no new ones being discovered, which isn't too surprising, as while he was posting these videos on his YouTube channel, his story began gaining traction, thanks to the aforementioned Reddit post, as well as others found on Facebook. People were starting to catch on to dark. While others believe that he still better at I've even heard it theorized that Pedro might actually be dead. Is this true? Predicts this to some extent. According to court documents, Pedro had actually been arrested yet again in 2023. Despite being reported prior to enter the country before being subsequently caught and sentenced for illegal immigration. However, these charges appear to be legal appeal made by Pedro and his lawyer. Taking us right into the question that started it all. Disappeared without a trace, his ability to dominate places without detection. The truth is that he his online conversions will follow. Here. Since then, there has been essentially no trace of him on the internet, with all of his accounts going silent and no new ones being discovered. As while I was posting these videos on YouTube, his story began traction thanks to the aforementioned Reddit post, as well as others made on Facebook. People were starting to catch on to what he was doing, and in turn, he went completely dark. Some believe that he's hiding out in Guatemala, living off the grid, while others believe that he's still making these videos and grooming children, and he's just gotten better at covering his tracks. I've even heard it theorized that Pedro might actually be dead, as his trail truly is that cold, though I was able to find one final trace of Pedro that contradicts this to some extent. According to court documents, Pedro had actually been arrested yet again around 2023, as despite being deported years prior, it appears as though he had somehow managed to re-enter the country before being subsequently caught, arrested, and sentenced for illegal re-entry following removal. However, these charges appear to have been dropped after a legal appeal made by Pedro and his lawyer. And what happened to Pedro from here is a complete mystery, taking us right back to the question that started it all. Where is this man? And given his knack for disappearing without a trace, and his ability to don new aliases without detection, the truth is that he could be anywhere right now, hiding among us. And I have no doubt that wherever he goes, his online perversions will follow.
Did you know you can trade your World Cup predictions on Robinhood? Buy and close positions on games all tournament long.
It's the 22nd of November, 2019. Our doorbell begins recording as a young girl approaches a home in the Harriet Creek Ranch neighborhood of Texas. It's pitch black out, and the girl is seen all alone, which by itself is strange enough, but it's moments later that this footage becomes truly concerning. She was begging for help, pounding her hand against the door, all the while continuously turning red, as if she was expecting someone to come up behind her. The footage then comes to an abrupt end. We just start again seconds later, but this entire time, no one answers that door. It was just a two-on barrel for the child. She didn't took off. Yelling incoherent in the street before running out of view of the camera. Frustratingly, this footage was leaving but not over until after the film. The court seemed to indicate that this was a property that they rented out rather than rented, with it being unoccupied by the night. But after seeing the video, the homeowner immediately contacted law enforcement and shared the video online in the hopes that more information would come forward. Neither they, police, had any idea who this child was, why she needed help. But since these clips were posted shared, these questions have still yet to be answered, at least publicly, as there have been no updates from law enforcement. Along with this, there have been no accounts from neighbors about the incident or any footage from other homes in the neighborhood, perhaps implying that this was her one and only stop of the night. It's like after this footage, this girl dropped off the face of the earth, with this entire situation being a mystery to this day, leaving us with only theories. The first and most popular theory is that this girl was an escaped victim of kidnapping, or perhaps an abusive household, and had run to the closest home to ask for help. We've seen situations like this many times before, with the most popular example of the moment being the case of Frankie, whose son escaped their house and ran to their neighborhood, one and only stop of the night. It's like after this footage, this girl dropped off the face of the earth, with this entire situation being a mystery to this day, one and only stop of the night. It's like after this footage, this girl dropped off the face of the earth, with this entire situation being a mystery to this day, leaving us with only theories. The first and most popular theory is that this girl was an escaped victim of kidnapping, or perhaps an abusive household, and had run to the closest home to ask for help. We've seen situations like this many times before, with the most popular example of the moment being the case of Frankie, whose son escaped their house and ran to their neighbor for help. This certainly falls in line with this girl's behavior, as she was clearly scared about someone or something following her, hence why she kept looking back. And given that there have been no updates to this case, and that seemingly no one else saw her that night, it would indicate that whoever she was running from had recaptured her shortly after. And what makes this theory even more horrifying is that many online users believe that this girl isn't the only person shown in this footage. as in the background, some can see what appears to be movement behind the bush, and potentially even a figure. And this just so happens to be the direction that this girl is looking in every time she turns back, almost like she knew someone was hiding there. Which brings us to our second theory, that this entire thing was a setup. The belief here is that this girl was coerced into going up to a stranger's home to beg for help, so that when this unsuspecting homeowner would open their door, those people who made the girl do this would then rush into the home and rob the person. This could explain why she was looking at that bush so frequently, as that's where this person or these persons would have been hiding, and she was looking to them for guidance, perhaps unprepared for the homeowner not to open their door. Both of these theories are disturbing in their own right, and both clearly indicate that this girl is in need of help, regardless of what the situation is. But still, there's been no confirmation as to whatever happened to this child, even despite the public interest. One of the biggest talking points online came from some theorizing that this girl might be Serenity Denard, a then 9-year-old girl who had gone missing in February of 2019 from a children's facility in South Dakota, who looked eerily similar to the child shown in this video. But in my research, I was able to find a Facebook post from one of Serenity's mothers, who shared that they were in fact aware of the video, and that they had actually contacted law enforcement about it. And in her post, she claims that investigators told her that the girl had been identified at some point, and that she had lived in that neighborhood, with there being no further elaboration as to why she was asking for help. This is quite literally one of the only updates I was able to find, but unfortunately it was one that I wasn't able to confirm, and it also fails to explain what exactly happened to this girl, leaving this footage and this entire scenario as one of the many mysteries of the internet.